What is going on, everybody? We're here talking Puka Nacua, Davante Adams. What is going on? Sir Devios in the house. George, Carson Claus in the building. Fred, Sick Nasty. Travis is probably in here. Fred, appreciate you. We're talking Puka Nacua. And this piece of news right here coming from NBC Sports that Rams OC is talking about Puka Nacua looking crispier, sharper. His route running is on point. His ability to get off the line all improved based on the tutelage of Davante Adams, which is totally understandable. He's going to learn a lot from Davante Adams. We'll talk about Puka Nacua, who I do have admittedly concerns of long-term, the way that he abuses his body. But are we talking about a player that might get injured and banged up this year, or is it more of a longer-term outlook? How much concern do we have of Puka missing time, or do we just throw the concern to the wind and say he's still going to play 12, 13, 14 games every year and drop massive, fantasy football loads all over the place? And we're here for that. So we'll talk about Puka. I am a little bit lower on Puka than the average bear, and we'll get into whether maybe that's fair or not. The Fantasy Football Show. Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, the Rams. Talk about the NFC West. We'll talk about whatever you want. Phone lines will be open. And we draft as well on Underdog. Promo code Smitty. I'll drop the link in the live chat right now. It's actually pinned, but I'll drop it again. And Underdog will match up to $1,000 on your first deposit at a 50% match. You drop 10, they'll give you 5. You drop 100, they'll give you 50. You drop 500, they'll give you 250, all the way up to $1,000. So we'll be drafting tonight. Use the link I just dropped. Use code Smitty. If you're watching the replay, the link's in the description. We're drafting tonight. Puka, Adams, Rams, wide receivers. You want to talk Travis Hunter again? You want to talk Aaron Rodgers again? Phone lines will be open. File on in.
FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday,
8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news.
Whenever news breaks, I got to fix that cutoff, that hard cutoff on whenever news breaks. Also, guys, we're Space Ricky in the building. Joe, appreciate you. Chris, Christopher, Victory, Vader, Ken in the building. Gregory, Carson Claus, appreciate all of you. Fred, Travis Rowe, Sick Nasty, all of you filing in for a late graveyard stream. Don't forget to go watch this video where I talk about Travis Hunter being not only a top 10 wide receiver in 2025 in redraft. You heard me. I didn't stumble. I didn't stutter. I didn't equivocate. I didn't misunderstand the assignment. I not only say that he's a top 10 wide receiver as a rookie. What's that do to BTJ? Go watch the video. But I also said he's a top 5 to 8 wide receiver. I changed it by the end of the stream. I was like, 5 to 10 ain't bold enough. Top 5 to 8 wide receiver in Dynasty. That means that there are a few players that I would trade Travis Hunter for in a Dynasty. How do you like them apples? Go watch that and do it live. We're here to talk about Puka Nacua. We're here to talk about a man named Puka that is reportedly looking really crispy with his route running, his release off of the line, which is what the NFL is about for wide receivers. And he already has a tremendous ability to get open and catch footballs that nobody else is even attempting to catch, which is part of the downside and what we'll talk about tonight. I have a little bit of concern for Puka in that, he is a guy that I do anticipate probably missing more time than we would like in his, short career. And I say short because he's made it very well known that, he wants to play to a certain level of about 30 years old. And then he wants to walk away potentially early, which is still a lot of time because he's still a young man. But whenever someone starts talking about retirement, I mean, look at what just happened with Barkley. Barkley says, I could retire tomorrow. Or essentially he said, I could wake up and want to retire at the end of this year. So next year I want to retire, or it could be another year after that, or it could be 4 years. But Barkley said it will be abrupt. It will be something out of nowhere when I retire, meaning that you can't really predict it. If Barkley's telling you he's going to retire in a way that shocks you, Stop trying to say, oh, he'll be fine. He won't retire for 3 or 4 years. They always say that. He's telling you that it's going to shock you, so you might want to listen. Puka Nacua is already talking retirement. And I did a live stream on this saying I didn't like that. I didn't like that because, why is that coming up? I know someone could ask a leading question on that kind of stuff, so I'm not like too worried about the fact that he's talking about it, I guess. But I don't like that he's thinking about it. I don't like that he's like, he says he wants to be able to lean down, play with his kids, go do active things with them, which you got to respect and understand, but it's not what you want to hear. We're selfish individuals. We don't care about any of that. And you act like you do. You don't. You care about Puka Nacua giving you the most bang for your buck. And I understand it. I'm not mad at you for it. And I'm actually the same way. Like, am I happy for him? Sure. But am I also like, what's up, Puka? Why are you talking about retiring at 30? You can still play through 30 and play with your kids. And so, we'll see what happens. Every player does tend to want to retire a little bit earlier than they actually do. And again, he's got so much time left. Ziggy, how old is Puka Nacua?
From bullbaygarden.net. He is 15 years old and is...
Whoa, Ziggy. Puka Nacua. Jeez. Ziggy thinks he's in grade school. Ziggy, off. You're worthless. I'm just going to get his birthday here. Puka Nacua. He's back in 19... You're worthless, bro. You were worthless, Ziggy. He's 24, turned May 29. So he just turned 24 years old. Happy birthday, Puka. He just turned 24 years old. Even if he plays 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, like even if he retired, if he played only, let's say he decided to only play his 29-year-old season, that's 6 years. Even if he retired going into before he even turned 30, that's still a long time, So really, I don't concern myself with that comment. I don't like it. I don't like that he's already putting a cap on it. Like, what if we want you to play until 32, Puka? Like, have you ever thought about our feelings? But if he wants to retire early, whatever, 6 years, 7 years. So a 6-7 year window that includes this year. That's a long time in Dynasty, my friends. But the thing that concerns me is his play. He plays so aggressive to his own body and health. He lays out for footballs that other people don't lay out for. He is very subject to injury, more so than the average wide receiver, because he's literally going balls to the wall every single play. And he's going to have knee injuries and things like that. But, from a redraft perspective, or even a short-term Dynasty perspective, I don't think we can play too much of a he's going to get hurt this year game. So I've said this in redraft. In redraft, it doesn't affect me. I'm still drafting Puka very high. Am I kind of leaning toward the notion that Adams being on roster kind of, while he's helping Puka run crispier routes, look better, he's also going to be Adams consuming a lot. So I have dropped Puka Nacua down a little bit, just like a slot or two, like a wide receiver spot. Maybe 2 ADP spots. I've dropped Puka down since the arrival of Davante Adams. And I don't necessarily think that that's wrong. I truly believe that is smart. So if Puka's going, let's say, in that, normally he's going in that 1.9 territory is where Puka's going or was going, or a lot of people, it was actually probably more like 1.7 to 1.9 or 1.8 even. Puka was at some points during the offseason, people were talking about him being like the number 1 or 2 wide receiver. But let's say 1.7 to 1.8 is where he was kind of at. And there's a lot of Puka fans. And someone could take him early, someone could take him a little later. But for me, this Adams situation puts him, for me, in this territory between 1.9 and 1.10. Again, not a huge move for me. It just means that Genty or maybe a Neighbors, who I have a lot higher than this, but this is kind of using ADP thinking. Neighbors, maybe even a BTJ. I could see Puka going anywhere in this territory because of the Davante Adams. Let's rewrite this so it's clear, because you couldn't read a single thing, could you? Neighbors. So Puka before Adams ranking here. even with injury risk, again, I don't think we can use Puka Nacua's style of play to say he's getting hurt this year. It's going to wear on him. But how quickly, how much, how frequently does he miss games? I don't know. Do I have concern that he has a little more injury risk than, let's say, Neighbors to get hurt? Yes and no. You could say yes, but then you could also say, but Neighbors is getting hospital balls from Russell Wilson and maybe a rookie quarterback, and maybe his injury risk is a lot higher. So anyway, Puka, Genty, Neighbors, BTJ, very understandable. I'm not necessarily going in exact order. I'm just giving you an example and sample of round one. This is kind of the way it was before Adams, or before people started to really deduct something from Puka with the presence of Adams. Me now, I have him probably here. I probably have him maybe, I would say 50% of the time above BTJ, but right below Neighbors, right below Genty. I have Neighbors a lot higher than this, actually, but just out of these players, these typical ADP players in this territory, I think Puka drops down below Neighbors, still above BTJ, mainly because I think BTJ is going to see a lot of sharing that number one role with Travis Hunter. I think BTJ still deserves this. I think Hunter is going to be so good that he plays like a top 15 overall player this year. So then 2026 ADP is going to look crazy with BTJ in 2023 or 2023. I wish we could go back in time that much. 2026, Hunter and BTJ will probably be going back to back in 2026 drafts. BTJ, Hunter, BTJ. Hunter could even go ahead of BTJ. Smitty, I can't believe you said that. Yes, I did. I said it. I'll continue to say it, and you can like it, not like it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me at all. That's just what I've been put here to give you my opinion. And that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. And it might be unpopular right now, but that's okay. So was A-Chan, so was Kyron, so was Bucky, so is JD5. I mean, it's par for the course on this channel. We are a BTJ community. We're also a mother freaking Travis Hunter community. You can be both at the same time. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. So, I'd say, Puka Nacua, somewhere in this territory makes a lot of sense. As for his long-term value, so I have, basically what I'm telling you is Puka's 9 or 10 for me. 9 or 10 or 11 for me. He's ahead of BTJ barely. I could rotate that if I wanted. He's ahead of St. Brown. He's ahead of other players in that territory. Let's jump into an Underdog draft right now. Everybody open up your Underdog app. The link is in the live chat pinned. The link is in the description. Code Smitty also gets it done. They'll match your first deposit 50% all the way up to $1,000. They'll put, if you drop $20, they'll give you $10 in bonus credit in your account, up to 50% on your first deposit, all the way up to $1,000. So if you do $2,000, they'll give you $1,000 in bonus credit and a free pick in your account. Pull up the Underdog app, hit the Originals tab at the bottom left, and then you're going to scroll through the little menu at the top that says right below drafts, and you're going to go to NFL. And once you select NFL, which is about midway through that list, we're going to go into a Puppy Superflex. Let's keep doing these. Puppy Superflex, 20-second. Click the enter button. 11 more to start. That means we're going to get a boatload of you in the draft. 11 more to start. 6 more to start. 5 more to start. 4 more to start. 3 more to start. We fill it up as quick as anybody. 3 more to start. 2 more to start. 1 more drafting soon. That's 12 of you in a draft together. This is going to be fun. That filled up quick. Let's see where Puka goes. I'm looking at receivers. Jamar Chase, JJ, CeeDee Lamb. Actually, let's pull up the Underdog app and let's go through the pre-rank list wide receiver rankings so we can look at Puka's ranking and see if we agree or disagree or what we see. Let's see here. Pull it up right here. See if I can get where's my damn thing? That's not it. Let me get rid of that and let me find, I think I got the draft board somewhere. on here? Draft board. This should be it. Give me 1 second. Where's my damn draft board? I think we're on the clock here. Let me see if I can pull up the other way. Bear with me as I try and get the board up. On the clock with 10 seconds left, I'm going to go. This is super flex. I got to remind myself. Let's go. Let's go Jalen Hurts in this one. Jalen Hurts. Let me see if I can get the board up. 1 second, guys. Draft board. Bear with me. Let me see if I just unplug it. I'm hoping it lets me show it tonight. Come on. You got this. Let me see. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, I just got to align it now. Oh, apologize. Phone lines are open if anybody wants to dial in. And then let me just expand this out a little bit. Come on. I have such technical difficulties tonight. I apologize. How many of you are in here tonight? 120. Hit that thumb up button if you can. Appreciate you all being in the building. There it is. Okay. So we're good to go on the draft board there. Draft board is up. Looks like I'm almost on deck here. Phone lines open. Dial in, dial in, dial in. Travis Hunter. Every time I see this guy, I want to rank him higher. All right. Phone lines open. Dial in. Let me hit the phone line number, and then I'm up on deck here. Is anything working?
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Nothing's freaking working. Everything's delayed. Okay, I could take Fields here, or I could take the man of the hour, Puka. I'm gonna go Malik Neighbors here. So I went Jalen Hurts and Malik Neighbors. And where's my damn draft board? There. My team so far is as follows. I'll put it on board view going forward. Sorry about that. So this is super flex. We went Josh Allen, JD5, Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, CeeDee Lamb, then down to round 2.1. Dak Prescott, Jahmyr Gibbs, JJ, Bo Nix, Ashton Genty, Henry, Christian McCaffrey. I took Malik Neighbors to pair with my Jalen Hurts. Puka Nacua, Justin Fields, BT, Devon Achane, and now it's 3.1. 3.1. Let me test the phone line.
No, you're right, Smitty. Birdie sucks.
Okay. Phone line's working. Audio's working. Caleb Williams just went. Penix Jr. just went. I don't know what I'm going to do here at QB. The top QB available is Brock Purdy, who you just heard Denny didn't like. Jared Goff, Drake May. Intriguing position to be in here. Herbert would have been intriguing. I would have maybe gone Herbert. Do I go like QB? Do I keep drafting Amon-Ra? So Nico's there. Running backs, Bucky. I have no RB yet. I want to take Bucky bad. I don't want to be left without an RB. I'm going Bucky. Okay, so Jalen Hurts, Malik Neighbors, and Bucky. And again, the way that I always tell people to kind of double check your work, make sure you're drafting an appropriate team, is what I'll do is if you just scroll up or put your hand over it, if it's, different app or whatever, and get rid of the round 1 pick if you went QB, and take a look at and pretend that round 2 is round 1, pretend round 3 is round 2, et cetera, et cetera. And are you drafting, are your non-quarterbacks, are they fitting to be first rounders and equivalent to the draft selection you be in a 1 QB league? Meaning, if I pretend first round doesn't exist, I went quarterback, is Neighbors a top, pick for this draft slot, which this draft slot is 1, 2, 3, 4, draft slot 5. Yes, Neighbors is acceptable there at 5. Is Bucky acceptable in the second round if this was round 2 at that draft slot? Absolutely. So I'm on par with taking the talent that is non-QB. I'm not putting myself in a position where I'm drafting guys that belong like the round later. That's how you kind of double check your draft and make sure you're on course, especially if you're going one QB in the first 3 or 4 rounds, to make sure you're still taking enough talent. Now, if you take a QB later, there's ways to look at it as well. A lot of good players left. McBride's still there. Chase Brown is there. Kyron, Bryce Young, Stafford, Breece Hall, Tua. This is tough. Jordan Love. I'm not a big fan of Jordan Love this year anyway. And might just continue to risk it. I've got Neighbors, Bucky, Jalen Hurts. Let's go McBride here, who's really a second round pick, and I got him as my 4th drafted player. So I know that it's going to be potentially a problem for me at QB, but we'll see. I'm just going to keep scooping up this value. So Jalen Hurts, Malik Neighbors, Bucky, and Trey McBride. Go ahead. You're live. Who am I talking to here? From 770.
It's Big T, man. How are you, Smitty?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? I want to talk about Tet and Travis. I want to know what you think about them, and then I'll just tell you what I think as well, but I want to hear what you think in regard to Tet compared to Travis.
Well, I think Tet McMillan is a T. Higgins, and Travis Hunter is a Jamar Chase, JJ, Malik Neighbors. So I think they're not even in the same universe. Hold on 1 second. Let me make this pick right here.
For sure.
I like Matthew Stafford here. I like Bryce Young here. This isn't bad. Tua is not even bad. I'm going to go Stafford with the Adams and Puka situation this year. So that gives me Hurts, Malik Neighbors, Bucky, Trey McBride, Matthew Stafford. I just couldn't. Stafford in round 5 isn't bad. I wanted Cam Ward, but he got sniped at 52 there. That's a good pick. That Cam Ward pick I like a lot. All right, go ahead. Tell me why you think Tet McMillan deserves to be in this conversation, because you own him in 3 leagues already and you are not happy with my analysis. Go ahead. I'm ready for it.
No, I own Tet in 1 league and I own Travis in my other league. So, I have shares of both. But my thing is I feel like the combination of Dave Canales going to Carolina, him already using Mike Evans, and Mike Evans having a great season, and Tetairoa McMillan being a top 10 pick, all the analysis says top 10 wide receivers are great, and his stats back it up, his route running backs it up, his film backs it up, and the best part about his landing spot is that Bryce Young is a quarterback that likes to get out of the pocket. He is comfortable in that area, and Tet McMillan is the perfect type of wide receiver for Bryce Young when he's out of the pocket.
He could be
like standing in the pocket and outside the pocket. Tet McMillan is perfect for Bryce Young.
But you forget the one key point, which doesn't matter what you're saying to me, when I don't believe Tet McMillan is a specimen, a top 10 wide receiver potential product. I don't think he is at all. I think T. Higgins is going right now. T. Higgins is going at 25 overall in best ball drafts. So for me to say the ceiling value for Ted McMillan is T. Higgins, if everything goes right, that's not my expectation necessarily. If everything goes right, that is still damn respect to say that he could be a top 25, top 30 pick in some cases. But he's already going just one round after that value in redraft. It's ridiculous. It's so high. I'll never draft Ted McMillan right now at that valuation. Hold on one second. I got to make. There's Ted right there. There's Travis Hunter right below him. I'm going Travis Hunter here. All right, there you go. But I understand. I understand why people like Ted McMillan. I just don't agree that he's capable of being an elite wide receiver one in fantasy football or in the NFL. I believe he could be T. Higgins. I believe he needs to be a number. If he's a number one, he's a one on a team where the team barely has a one. He's playing the one role. I think he could be a team's one where it never ranks inside the top 12 wide receivers. He's one of those poor man wide receiver ones. But is this a player that I believe could be overstepped by an incoming rookie? You know, like had this team drafted the next year a Travis Hunter type, like BT is right there, and I think BT and Travis Hunter are going to be both top 10 wide receivers. So they're not either stepping over each other, but Ted McMillan could get stepped over pretty quickly, in my opinion.
That's fair, but going to your point on, Ted McMillan not being a physical specimen, in your opinion, I mean, do you think Amon-Ra is a physical specimen? Do you think Drake London's a physical specimen? Like, Drake London, he didn't burn anyone in college. He still doesn't burn anyone in
Bro, you could tell me. You could tell me the problem with this conversation is I don't agree with you. I think London is a physical specimen. I'm not saying Ted McMillan doesn't have great
I'm a huge London fan, too. I'm a Falcons fan. I'm a huge London fan.
All right, hold on a second. Dang it. George Pickens. Okay, I got it off. I'm not saying I don't like Ted McMillan. Again, this is kind of where it's like, and I'm not frustrated at you, and I don't really truly get frustrated. I'm just merely like voicing. Yeah. This is where it gets frustrating.
Yeah, it's debate.
I tear down Ted McMillan when I'm not trying to. I don't want to. I'm not calling him a bust. I'm not calling him anything. But
100%.
We're having a conversation about Ted McMillan with top 10 wide receivers. It's a ridiculous conversation. He's not that player. He is, in my opinion, a T. Higgins, which is a very good player, and can be very, very good. But this is not a player to me that is going to be in a conversation like Travis Hunter about being a top 5 wide receiver, about being somebody that could be thought of as the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. I think Ted McMillan can't be in that ballpark.
Sure. That's a fair opinion, completely fair opinion. Me just seeing the draft capital and the perfect fit with Bryce Young, like it's kind of like the thing with Drake London being the perfect fit with Penix.
It's good,
something like that. Or
that's why I'm saying I don't want to tear him down to size. It's a good fit. Everything's good. Like Ted McMillan in Carolina is a good fit. It's a good receiver. It's a really good receiver. Is he? Think of the way DK was thought of in Seattle. And I'm not saying DK doesn't do really well in Pittsburgh, but DK got overtaken by JSN. I think Ted McMillan has a stronghold on that number 1 spot, like no more so than DK Metcalf did in Seattle. That's what I think ends up happening. Zay Flowers is another good example of, he's a number 1 for a team that he's not really a number 1. He is a number 1 for his team, but he's not a top 12 wide receiver, not a number 1 in fantasy. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that, I mean, I would just say that Zay isn't the kind of wide receiver nor wide receiver prospect that Ted is, but I can see what you mean by wide receiver 1.
To you, he's not to me. I don't agree with the people
fair.
Ted is a top wide receiver. Puka is my number 2 wide receiver. Luther Burden's my number 3 wide receiver. Like Ted McMillan's not even in my top 3 wide receivers from this draft class. I think he's still very good, but he's below those guys. Hold on one second. Let me just make where am I going to go here? I guess
Team's looking pretty fire, though.
Guess I could go Aaron Rodgers here and just get a third quarterback. Part of me wishes I didn't go Matthew Stafford now, knowing that Aaron Rodgers fell. And he's still going higher than he was the other night, but let's see here. Instead of, let me reverse engineer this. Instead of Stafford, I could have got, let's see here, JSN, Hampton, RJ Harvey. Yeah, you know what? Damn it. I would much rather have had RJ Harvey looking at this thing. Let me pull it up here. So I would have had Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Bucky, RJ Harvey, Neighbors, Hunter, Pickens, McBride. Damn it. Not that this isn't good. I still like the extra quarterback, but that would have been what I wanted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I like your bully quarterback strategy that you do in best ball.
All right. Anything else, T?
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to talk about Travis and BTJ. You know, I know you talk about how Travis would be used as a wide back, you know, and on jet sweeps and motions and screens and stuff. My thing is I can see top 10 wide receiver upside 100%. It kind of gets to a stretch for me for top 5 just because BTJ was used the exact same way last season on screens, on jet sweeps, on like wide back sets. Like that's how BTJ was used. So I'm not saying Travis can't be also used in that kind of manner. Conscious of like if he's being used on defense and on offense, would they put him as a wide back when they already have that kind of player with BTJ doing that when we have evidence of him doing it last season?
Well, you got to remember this is a completely different different staff, different playbook, different design, architect, different everything. Like you're trying to transfer last year to this year. There's no relevance really. BTJ brings to the table a resume of, hey, I can do this, I can do that. Sure. And they'll both do it. Why can't they both do it? BTJ and Hunter, they're both top 5 potential wide receivers. So you're just going to you're never going to let people know what you're up to. Like BTJ do this. That's why I say they're both kind of neck and neck. Every year one could go over the other. Anybody that thinks BTJ can't get drafted after Travis Hunter some years, or anybody that thinks that BTJ can't get outscored by Travis Hunter every other year, at least if they're rotating that, is literally you have. And I love BTJ. He's a supernova. I love him. But to say that one can't be better than the other just because one's already in your heart, has a nice warm place in your heart, that's so wild to me that people are literally capping Hunter because they already own BTJ in Dynasty in 5 leagues. I could see both of them for who they are. They're both elite top 5 to 10 wide receiver talents. No offense, T, but you have a lot of things that you bring to the table that you're trying to limit based on like a lot of things that I don't think are factors. You know, like that bringing the offense last year to the table as to why you're limiting, you know, the potential wide back usage of a player like Travis Hunter with a new coach. He's a weapon. He's the most physically gifted maybe receiver in the league from day one.
No. I never said that I'm limiting Travis Hunter. I think they both can be used in that manner. Absolutely. I think they both can be used in that manner. Absolutely. It's just my thing is when they have a player that can already do it in BTJ and Travis is playing on defense as well, it makes me just wonder how much will Travis actually be used in those set kind of sets, like wide back sets compared to BTJ. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, no one knows. No one knows. I think it's going to be something to the effect of that both are getting used at a rate no one can predict. That's what I think Liam Cohen's bringing to the table. I think that's what Liam Cohen's going to see in both of these guys, and that's what's going to make them rotate in value sometimes. But they're both electric, and I love when people think that when someone says, "Oh, don't you think he'll get injured playing wide back?" That person doesn't understand what a wide back is.
Oh no.
They think that I'm saying running back. I'm not saying running back. And then they say, well, Debo played wide back and he was playing running back. Debo played wide back and then they converted him to a full-time running back until they got their running back room healthy. And for some reason, people mix up those two moments in time and they think that wide back means he's lining up under center. You know, where he's behind the quarterback lined up as a halfback. That's not what wide back is. Wide back is wide. Everything done from a wide back perspective is out wide. They're basically, think of it like a running back starting with the ball in his hands at the wide receiver position. Like if you could just say, in like a video game, I'm going to move the ball over to Deebo Samuel, and he's going to hold it just like a flag football and go hike, and he's got the ball at the line of scrimmage. That's wide back. So it's Jimmy G snapping the ball, throwing to Deebo Samuel, sometimes 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and then he becomes a running back at the wide receiver position. That's what it's all about. So he will be. Hold on one second. Let me make this pick. Jeez, I'll go with Puka here. So my team so far is Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Bucky, Zach Charbonnet. I really wish I could go back in time and take RJ Harvey instead of Stafford. Neighbors, Hunter, George Pickens, Egbuka, McBride, Travis Kelce. Maybe even Kelce was a bad pick at the end of the day. There's still some running backs.
Nothing wrong with diversifying a little bit, though.
There's definitely. All right, T, got to run. Appreciate you, bro.
Right. Yeah, thank you for the conversation, man.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
it. Later. Travis, you're live.
Hey, what's up? With Ted McMillan, I think he can end up being like a 8 to 15 wide receiver at his peak. But I think it might take him a year to get there. Maybe he might not even see it. I think he can have a good year this year, but and like we've talked about before, I really think everything is going to come down to can he get his release off the line. Because it's easy. Him and London have a lot of similarities, but like I was looking at some different things, and they did a lot of different things in college compared to each other. They weren't all that similar in college. But Ted McMillan, once you get the ball in his hands, he's great, and he can do a ton of stuff down the field with the ball in his hands, yards after catch. He's a really, really good athlete, but like we've talked about before, he's got to be able to get his release.
Yeah, if you watch a lot of that, I think he'll be okay. If you watch a lot of his film, whenever he's wrapped up, whenever anybody puts their hands on him, he just kind of shuts down. Not every time, but enough times that it's very alarming. And so, given that that's the biggest struggle or the biggest obstacle a college wide receiver is going to face is when they get to the NFL, it's can they get off the line. And I'm not saying Ted won't work on this. I'm not saying he can't overcome it. I'm not saying anything of the sort. I just merely believe that, there's a lot of, let's see here. I'm going to go Jaden Blue here and just take a gamble. There's just a lot of other things I look at, like especially when I'm, and this is where it comes down to, I don't hate Ted McMillan. I'm not calling him a bust. I'm not predicting a bust. It's just when people put these lofty expectations on him, then you got to cut it down to size. It sounds like you're a hater. I'm not a hater, but when you look at Egbuka doesn't struggle with that. Egbuka invites contact. Egbuka gets better when he's in situations like that. Whereas Ted McMillan has to learn to do that, and I haven't seen him learn that yet. And I believe that it's not going to be as seamless in this situation, which I still believe, even though Carolina is exciting, I think we could get ahead of our skis a little bit if we start assuming that there won't be problems or that it can't be a problematic situation. Leggett went there. He's still going to develop, and Leggett didn't even exactly do what we thought he could do. And so there's some thinking there that what happened to Leggett might and could happen to maybe Ted McMillan. It's just like you said, a year of, wow, that was underwhelming. And then you're going to be doubting him going to the second year. We got to remember that in some ways, Leggett was as exciting as Ted McMillan is this year. I know people don't want to remember that, but Leggett had a lot of upside, and the draft class was so much better. So Leggett in this draft class might rank a lot higher than people really believe or want to admit. Leggett was a good prospect, and he struggled to translate. And you still have Thielen there, who I think is an old man that could get injured at any moment, but he's still going to command a lot. And I like Ted McMillan a lot. There's just a lot of greenness to this situation. Whereas you look at Egbuka, you look at Luther Burden, you look at Travis Hunter, these guys are NFL ready. Ted McMillan is not yet ready for prime time yet. He's very green and raw in a lot of ways.
I think
Could be wrong.
Another problem we get had was he dropped a ton of balls. And he got hurt too, so that never helps in the rookie year. I think Tet's quite a bit better than Leggett. We'll see though.
Yeah, he probably is, but it's just I'm just trying to remind people that Leggett had a lot of upside that everybody, including me, thought this is going to go well for a rookie, and it didn't, and so Carolina is maybe not as conducive to that rookie explosion wide receiver season just because we think he's the best talent, we think he's the top guy, but what's the pecking order really going to be like for him entering week 1? Hard to say. It could take some time, like you said.
And one question I have about him is Drake London coming out of college was a pretty good blocker.
Yeah,
I'd have to look into it more. I don't think Tet's the greatest blocker. I'd have to look into it more. I don't know a lot. But Drake London was pretty decent in the blocking game already. So all those little things go into how much playing time you get, especially when you said when Leggett's there, Keelan's a veteran that's there, Coker is there. They have 4 or 5 guys that can play NFL receiver.
Yeah, and honestly, I was really excited about Coker, and I don't think it's crazy. I know people are going to think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy to think that he struggles to get past Coker, for a while, but we'll see.
I'm torn on that. I like Coker.
We'll see.
I also think that by the end of the year, Ted could catch on really fast.
Yeah,
I think he just might be a little slow to start the season, and then after that, I think he'll catch on.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to the T. Higgins comparable for me. If everything goes well, I'm still giving him mad respect by calling him a receiver that right now T. Higgins goes 25, 26, 27 overall. I just think that he does belong in that type of situation where he's maybe not the number 1. He maybe is the number 2, the high-end number 2 of the team. I just think that might be more of where he shines. But if you put him, look at Pittman Jr. How many years in a row did I have to tell people Pittman Jr. is not a 1? He's not a 1. You keep putting him in a position to be the number 1. He's going to get beat down by number 1 corners. He's never going to develop, and he's going to fizzle out. Michael Pittman Jr. had a fan club of people that mostly owned him, and they're loud, and everybody thinks everybody's on point with it because they hear a lot of it. But Michael Pittman Jr. was not a 1. Deontay Johnson, how many years did I have to say he's not a 1? He's not a 1. He'll never be a 1. Will never be what everybody wants him to be. There's a bunch of wide receivers like that. And I'm not saying I'm right on this. I just believe right now. And he could develop, and I reserve the right to change my mind if he picks up the game quickly. There's players that come in. Look at Bucky Irving. In his rookie year, looked super different. Love Bucky. But as a prospect, there was wonderment whether he would be able to translate and get the looks and get the carries and get the confidence of the coaching staff. Everything had to go right for Bucky, and it did. But there was a lot of questions about Bucky. He wasn't just a lock to be who he is today, and he grew at the NFL level. So Ted McMillan, T-Mac, could also grow at the NFL level. It's certainly possible. But I just think that right now, based on the things I believe to be true in his game, being, a little bit green, being that I think he, and I know people are going to say, this is a long time ago, let it go. But the fact that he didn't watch football for a long time, even if he picked it up and started watching a lot of football and film the last year and a half, we know that a couple years ago, let's say a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was, that he made that comment and stuck to it, didn't watch football, didn't watch pro football, didn't watch anything. There's a lot of things you're not gonna have in your tool bag. And the proof of it was when they asked him at the Super Bowl festivities, the Pro Bowl festivities, hey, how'd you learn to catch one-handed? And his comment was almost like, when a homeschooled kid says something and it's like, whoa, you haven't been out. You've been you were homeschooled. Okay, that makes sense. The fact that they said, how'd you learn to catch one-handed? And here's a guy that's played football for how many years now? And he says that he never tried to catch a one-handed pass until last year, the year that he walked into. And then the interviewer's like, what? You never tried to catch? He's like, I never tried to catch a pass one-handed. Then one day I did it, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty. And he's like, I never try and do it now, but I started to become something that I'm just saying he's developing still. He does not have all of the skills, and part of that is the preparation, the watching film, the loving of football outside of you playing it. Like, imagine a kid growing up not watching Michael Jordan or LeBron walking into the NBA and inventing new moves by himself. Like, he's not trying to do the things and use the things that his idols do. All I'm saying is he's a little behind. And I think people need to understand that and not take it with such offense, of, oh my God, Ted McMillan's my favorite player. You can't believe you don't like him. He's just behind a little bit. In proof by watching his film, when he gets manhandled at the line of scrimmage, there's still a lot to his game that he has to learn. He has to learn a lot of things.
And like to me, I don't even care as long as he's watching film now and doing the things he needs to do. It doesn't bother me as much if an athlete says, "Oh, I don't watch NFL on Sunday" or stuff like that, because I think you and I disagree on this, but there's plenty of professional athletes that do not aren't truly in love with the sport. Now that could affect how good he can be if he's not truly in love with the sport, But
I think when you're talking about like a Tyreek Hill who says he pulls up Madden and look. Part of me doesn't even believe him because he's the king of trolling people. So I don't even know that I believe what Tyreek Hill says, but I do find it more of an anomaly type situation for someone to be one of the elite players at their position if they don't watch film, they don't love football.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So like I'm not saying there can't be anomalies, but I don't think the anomaly will be Ted McMillan. I think T-Mac he's a good player. And again, I hate that I have to cut him down to size, in these conversations with people, because it feels and sounds like I'm a hater of the kid. I have to, in my opinion, it's my, this is what my show's about, giving my opinion. It's when I see it, it's my opinion, and I have to set the record straight on my show that Ted McMillan is getting a little bit overvalued when in redraft, he's going in a 1 QB redraft, he's going in round number 4. And that's off the back of last year's rookie wide receiver class that people are propping up and thinking that it applies to everyone in this class. It might apply to Travis Hunter, to Puka, maybe Luther Burden, but remember where he plays football, in Chicago, where they could screw this the hell up. So really, to me, it's Puka who may get starter run right away. Depends on Godwin. It sounds like Puka is going to be starting from day one as Godwin's easing back and is not as far along as we thought. Becoming a complete avoid for me is Godwin. And I wasn't always that way in the offseason. I was pretty excited about where he could sign and, start anew and staying where he stayed. Puka getting drafted, being, questioning that. Why'd they do that? Now it makes sense. Puka is going to get into his role. And if, let's say, week 5, week 6, or week 4 come and Godwin's getting eased in, Puka is probably going to just stay where he is, and Godwin, and they're just going to figure out ways to use them all. But Puka is ready to rumble. Ready to rumble. He is so NFL ready. And Puka lived in the most crowded wide receiver room in college, playing with the most elite wide receivers you could possibly collect together. So Puka getting drafted to Tampa, where they have that crowded situation where they're like, hey, can you rover a little bit? And Puka's like, that's what I do for a living. I literally play with the best wide receivers all the time. This is what I do. And they're like, you're our guy. Think about it. It's the most beautiful landing spot for a player like Puka that brings a resume to the table that says, I play with these guys all the time. I'm constantly sharing, the field with the most elite college wide receivers in my wide receiver room. Like, it really is remarkable when you think about it. Let's see here. Damn it, I'm going to time out. Damn it, I just had to take Arroyo. I like him, but I did not want to take Arroyo yet. But I didn't want to time out. Anyway, T-Mac is a tough player to talk about because it invokes a lot of, like, anger for people because they want me to say he's as good as, you know, Travis Hunter or maybe, like, you know, when I say I like MHJ more, they're like, he didn't do well though. Ted McMillan hasn't failed yet. I mean, I get it. And again, I reserve the right. I'm going to be wrong on a bare minimum. And I'm not talking about like easy calls. I'm talking about on the difficult calls. Things like this. This is a difficult call. It's not easy. You don't know the roadmap. Anything remotely tough to predict at all. Even start bench questions, all that. I'm going to be wrong in my best year I ever have at least 25% of the time in my best season ever. So this could be one of those things I get wrong. If your gut tells you T-Mac is going to be a top 5 to 10 wide receiver, you believe it. And don't mind me. But when somebody calls in, like T called in and asked, you know, when I could tell where he's going. He wants to kind of know why I don't see Ted McMillan and Travis Hunter in the same light. I get it. But to me, it's not even, they're so far apart, it's not even close. It's not even remotely close. It couldn't be further apart. Those guys are not even in the same universe to me. Let me see if I can find another RB. Brashard Smith probably. 19. Let me see if there's another wide receiver I can grab. Let me see if there's another quarterback I can grab. Mason Rudolph, Will Howard. I have Aaron Rodgers, so it kind of makes sense. Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Rodgers. That's pretty good. All right. Who else is on the phone line? I think maybe someone hung up. Dial in.
Go ahead.
I was going to say quick. Another thing is that, like, and I know that you don't necessarily agree. He's the best in the class, and I don't either. I have Hunter over him. I might have Burden over him too. But going into the beginning of draft season and coming into this past college season, T-Mac was the best of the group, you know. But compared to other years, we've been so spoiled with, you know, the Jamar Chase years and the Neighbors years and Garrett Wilson year. And I mean, he would have been, you know, I don't know, 4th or 5th, or 3rd, 4th, 5th in a lot of those classes, you know. So I think also that where he was ranked by so many, you know, quote unquote experts and websites and stuff, outlets as the top guy.
And I don't know why
though.
And I don't know why though. It's size, I guess, but to me, I don't get why anybody ever had or still does or had. No, I know, but Ted McMillan over Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter might be the most athletic player to ever come out of college, at least in the last decade. So I don't even, and he's amazing at wide receiver. It's not like he's some unknown prospect that they're converting to wide receiver. Like he brings to the table more than T-Mac does on every level, and he's the most athletic wide receiver for sure, but player to come out of college in the last decade minimum. So I don't even understand when Hunter blows him away in every single category, how anybody in their right mind could have Ted McMillan higher. What it comes down to are people's fears about him playing cornerback. And I think had that never been in the cards, had he said, I'm going to enter the draft and not play cornerback at the NFL level, I bet you the whole world would have probably been on the Travis Hunter side. But now everybody's just so jostled around and they don't know, they can't see straight. They don't know north from south. It's just funny to me. I mean, T-Mac he's a good prospect, no doubt about it. I'm not calling him a bust. I never have. I never once said T-Mac is going to bust. But T-Mac is very much, to me, Not on M.H. Shea's level. He's not. Definitely not on BTJ or Neighbors level. So, like you said, you throw him into last year's class, you're not even considering him near those guys. If you threw Travis Hunter into that class, you would probably still have Travis Hunter in the conversation of being a top 5 or 6 overall pick.
Yeah, so I think the other thing is too, and it's just the way people's minds work. Travis Hunter was at Jackson State and then came over and had, in 2023 at 700 yards. He was pretty good, but McMillan had a huge 2023. Finished that year with a 266-yard game. Then started last year off with 304 yards and 4 touchdowns to start the season. So there was so much hype got built like a full year before draft season even started for him, where he just got like anointed. This is the guy. He's going to be like, the VTJs and the Neighbors, and when he wasn't, but he was putting up absurd numbers, 250, 100 yards a game in some games. So I think just a lot of hype got rolling, and some people never came off of it, came back to earth.
Yeah. I just think that T-Mac, to me, doesn't even rank inside my top 3 receivers this class. So last class, forget about it. But hey, again, I could be wrong. It's not something that you can always tell out of the box. Again, and it doesn't even mean that, and I'm not trying to say I won't be wrong if he's good. I'm not trying to like take that angle on this, because I will be one of the people that did not love T-Mac as much. I never once called him a bust, though. I've said T. Higgins. So if he lands at T. Higgins level, and someone's going to come in and say, yeah, he looks pretty good, Smitty. You're wrong. You were wrong about him. I mean, that's what I said. He could be T. Higgins if all things go well. But could he be better than that and I eat crow later? Yes, but that's okay, because I believe, and this is just my thought process and how prospecting works and doing this for 24 years professionally, that what I know now as a profile, as a prospect, without knowing how much this plant will grow once watered by NFL water, what I know now, I believe to be true, and I almost feel like I'm 100% right. Now, if he gets to the pros and his ability to grow with the NFL water is something we can't measure, because look at Bucky. That's the exact best example you can ever give. Or Tom Brady, Kurt Warner, and Bucky's one of them, but from a running back position, Arian Foster. When you get these players in the NFL and you water them with NFL-laced water, they may grow in a way that no one could predict. A lot of it's coaching, a lot of it. So the same thing with a wide receiver. As a prospect, giving him a T. Higgins upside and ceiling is, in my opinion, very, very accurate. Any player could go into the next level and just blossom in a way that no one expected. And so and it will need to take something along those lines. And I don't know, Carolina's pretty good to try and, visualize a scenario where this makes sense. He gets overfed. But I also believe that we're getting ahead of our skis, as I mentioned earlier, in assuming that Bryce Young's out of the woods yet. He still has a lot.
That's what I was going to say, yep.
And so for us to put it all on a small quarterback that I'm rooting for Bryce Young. I truly am. You've never heard me say a negative thing about Bryce Young this offseason. I really am rooting for the kid. I love that he got benched. He came back, overcame that. But keep in mind he got benched. Keep in mind that Darnold looked better than Bryce Young's ever looked, and Darnold within 2 games is dead to everybody. So let's not get ahead of our skis and act like Bryce Young's in the clear. So there's a lot that needs to happen for his situation, Ted McMillan. I'm rooting for Bryce Young. I like Bryce Young. I'm very excited for Bryce Young. I'm very excited for Bryce Young in this structure, in this offense. But, Ted has just got T-Mac's got a lot of things that he needs to improve while he's trying to fit into this system that's trying to prove that it is on the right track, like we all kind of think it could be. I mean, for your one weakness to be getting manhandled at the line of scrimmage, or whenever this guy got hands put on him, even 5 yards down the field, get tangled up with someone, it's almost like he just coasts to a stall. And there are some scenarios where he does play well. I'm not saying every scenario, in that situation or that context, but he is definitely somebody that I feel like at a more physical level, his weakness needs to be overcome or he'll get swallowed up in the NFL. That's all I'm saying. And I don't necessarily feel like this also can't be, just like Travis said at the top, really, of this conversation, that year 2 is really like, look at Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman looked amazing. Like, if you don't think Keon Coleman looked amazing in the offseason of his rookie year, you're lying. You're lying. He was dominating, not just, practice reps when it was against twos. We're talking about scrimmage. We're talking about scrimmages against other teams. We're talking about when all the starters are on the field. We're talking about the height of the offseason. We're talking about him grabbing touchdowns when no one else was even grabbing 1 or 2. He was grabbing 3 and 4 in a practice. He was high pointing the ball. He was pulling the ball away from the defenders, toe tapping, looking like he's 7 foot, going up against 5 foot cornerbacks. Coleman looked amazing. That's why the hype train on this channel was so big. There was definite visual, undisputable evidence that Coleman was dominating. And then something happened. He walks on the field. I feel like it was a combination of, game speed. Different things are going to be different, once the whistle blows in a real game. And then Josh Allen didn't throw to him the same way. There could have been play designs. It could have been a lot of different reasons. It could have been something he messed up on early on and they wanted to correct it and things got out of control. Could have been his attitude. There's some talk about that. There's a lot of reasons why it could have went south for Keon Coleman. But I think Keon Coleman, and people can argue this all they want, I think Keon Coleman looked better at the time than Ted McMillan looks right now. But people just aren't going to admit that. People will not admit that. People are very, very frontward facing. They don't reflect backwards very well in general. And if you say, "Oh no, Coleman busted, he sucks," you're not going through the exercise that I'm asking you to go through. When Keon Coleman was doing work in the offseason, he looked ready to rumble. He looked like he was dominating all facets of the game. So I'm excited about Keon.
Looked like a man amongst boys.
He did.
In the preseason.
Yeah, part of me is really excited about Keon Coleman this year. Not to the level that I'm betting the farm or putting all my eggs in one basket, or even going to an extent to put him on the Moon Man list or Mars Man list or anything like that. We do have the Revenge Tour. I don't think we put anybody on the Revenge Tour. Who's on there? Yeah, we have. The Revenge Tour is right here. Yeah. Paul Rice. Wow.
Some good ones.
Yeah, Mahomes, Hall, and Rice are pretty good.
You put them on early.
Yeah, so early I forgot. We haven't hit this button in months. So I could see Keon Coleman hitting that list. I really am going to be hopeful for Keon Coleman. I'm not going to tout him to a degree. I just hope he gets to where this is the most vacant location for him to rise up and have a revenge tour, because they didn't draft anybody. Shakir is no different than when I just described Michael Pittman Jr. Shakir is not the number 1 for a team. He's a really good number 2. Like, he could be an outstanding number 2, but he's not a number 1. He could be a rental for a year. Pittman was a rental number 1 for years, but it didn't bode well for him. So there is a place for Keon Coleman to walk in with experience now, take the job by storm, and he gained at least 10 pounds of pure muscle, just dominating, looking guy right now. I really, really, really hope he has the tenacity and the grit to bounce back from this, because I will be rooting for Keon Coleman. But anyway, DJ, you're live.
One thing Coleman has in his favor is, Allen. So that's definitely going to help his cause. The OTAs and the pre-camp film and this and that definitely encourages, and makes a player hopeful and look good, which was Coleman's case. So I get your point there. But the regular season, it's a different animal, which is to say, yeah, he shows that he's capable, of balling. But we can't be deceived, by preseason stuff. Certainly it can be hopeful because it shows flashes. And his height, his size, same thing with Ted. Evans does it well. There are very few receivers that have come in the league, right, with their length, that size, and their, width that is a number one receiver. So, yep, that was my thought there. One more thing. And with Hunter, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of his floor is just very high. His floor is, just with minimal targets, I would think is still 1 to 12, just because he's just a different breed. So
he might be the most
defense or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just say he might be the most athletic wide receiver. At the end of the day, he might be the most athletic wide receiver to ever be drafted. And I'm not trying to say that Jamar Chase, or there's a lot that goes into that. Are you trying to identify one specific skill set? Maybe he's not number one across the board on something, but he is such an athlete. And if you go to my Instagram, and I urge you to watch this video that I posted on my IG, Instagram.com/the Fantasy Football Show. Just search for me on Instagram and watch the Travis Hunter video that I dropped, where you see this guy. Look at the height of this guy jumping. Just doing, it's unreal. And I put it to Creed. It's playing the Creed music. How could you not like this video? So Travis Hunter is running around, just showing how much of a physical he's lining up against BTJ. And that's going to make BTJ better too, playing up against Travis Hunter in practice. They're going to both elevate their game. But his start-stop ability, his ability to eye the ball, his ability to look at this height that he gets, just jumping up and getting the football. There's no, if you don't think that this guy, and look at this, he catches this one-handed pass, and then he throws it up to his GM, who's watching really far up, throws, and his GM goes, and you see it in slow motion, and he catches the ball from Travis Hunter, and he delivers it, and the GM is just like, I picked him. Like, you can see it in his eyes. There's no video. Again, I urge you to go watch this. There's no video that should, if this video doesn't change your mind, just watching this is like one day at practice, watching this man's abilities, raw physical talent. If you think there's a more talented wide receiver in the league, in most of almost every category, you're crazy. And I feel like when I had a lot of people coming at me saying JD5, he's gonna bust. He's too small. He's got the burst of sack on his elbow. He's gonna get rocked at the NFL. He's not a pocket passer. He's a gadget quarterback. Washington's garbage. The offensive line's garbage. They're gonna get him hurt. He has no weapons. The team's not very good. There were so many excuses as to why JD5 was gonna fail. It seemed like the easiest call I could possibly make. I felt like I had the Gray's Book Sports Almanac, and I had people arguing with me about what was about to happen. You remember when older Biff tells younger Biff, turn on the radio, and he's like, he's going to hit a home run right here or whatever, and Biff's like, you're telling me you're going to win this game? It felt like I was arguing with people like that about JD5. It really, really did. And so at the end of the day, this feels just as dumb. This argument that I have with people about how Travis Hunter can't be a top 10 wide receiver, how he can't be a top 5 to 10 dynasty wide receiver, how something is getting in the way of that. It's BTJ, it's BTJ, or it's Trevor Lawrence, or it's the fact that he runs weird, or there's some other excuse. Watch the Instagram video that I put up. come back and then tell me he's not the best physical specimen at the wide receiver position that you've really ever seen. I would be very, very interested if you still didn't believe that. And that's one freaking video.
Yeah, that's why I say, I mean, his floor is, I think, you know, regardless of the amount of targets, it's just knowing that when he's out there and he's running routes, right, he's getting the ball. I mean, you know, so, you know, his efficiency is going to be off the Richter. So, I mean, even if he's getting 100 targets, right, he's afraid.
How many times?
And so that's top 10, 12 minimum. His floor is just high. You know, waking up in the morning, in my opinion.
Yeah. How many times do you think that Liam Cohen's going to do something like this? Let me see if I can get this. How many times do you think Liam Cohen's going to have Trevor Lawrence take one step and just launch the ball, have Travis Hunter step back one step, catch the ball, wide back, this is what wide back is, and have a screen where this guy just takes the football and goes 40 yards down the field? It's going to happen so much. That's why I say he didn't have a lot of rushing yards in college, but there's also different rules in terms of catching the football, you know, at the NFL level behind the quarterback, it turning into a running stat. There's a lot of reasons why, right? So just off that alone, but you're going to have Travis Hunter used in a way that he's getting a rushing attempt instead of a reception. People will hold their breath on whether he gets a receiving stat for that, or did Trevor Lawrence get that touchdown, or was that a run? There is a world where this guy goes from not having rushing stats to having 200 to 300 rushing yards and 2 to 3 to 4 touchdowns rushing. So then you add that to, let's say he has a 10 yardage season and BTJ has the 1400. So BTJ has 1400, Hunter has 1010, and then he also has this 200 rushing yards and 2 to 3 TDs. So he has 3 TDs, 200 yards. Really, he has 1210 versus the 1400, and he's got 3 extra touchdowns. And let's say he has 11 TDs and BTJ has 14. That's what I'm saying, that it's going to end up being one of these things where they're not the exact same wide receiver. They're going to have slightly different balance of production, yet they could have the same exact fantasy football number at the end of the year. Or one of these stat lines will outshine this more robust looking 1400 receiving stat line. But this guy could be used all over the field. Wouldn't shock me if he's the next Deebo Samuel, becoming one of the best, if not the best, yak yardage receiver in the National Football League, and then gets that rushing production that comes from the wide back role, not the running back role where you would have more injury risk. There's no injury risk to him getting wide back work. Catching the football behind the line of scrimmage, especially when it's counted as a rush, he's behind the quarterback, and he catches the football behind the quarterback, throws it to him, and Travis Hunter takes this thing 40 yards downfield. This could turn into a, like I said, 300-yard rushing player. That's such an insane amount of yards to get. He could have 300, 400, 200. It could be anywhere. It could be a new position of wide back that we've never even seen before unlocked. If I'm coaching Travis Hunter, I'm throwing him the ball all over the field. His heat map at the end of the year, we talked about how good of a fit Pickens and Lamb are, that when you look at here's the sidelines and here's the quarterback, you look at a heat map for Pickens and his catch, his targets are all right here. That's Pickens. And then you look at CeeDee Lamb, his targets are all, a lot of them are closer, but like right here in the middle of the field. So they're like a puzzle piece. They're the perfect match. That's why Dak's going to go crazy. If you look at Travis Hunter, he's going to be a guy that has the football all over the field. Like his catch radius is going to be so spread out because he's going to literally run like a 3-yard slant, get the ball right here and take it with the yak yardage all the way up the field. He's going to step back, get it here. He's going to do jet sweeps, end arounds. He's going to be all over the mother freaking field. This is going to be a player that if Liam Cohen uses him and he landed in the best spot. Like we believe Liam Cohen will use him, he's going to unlock a player that people are going to be so regretful that they don't have shares of. They're going to be so regretful. And part of the reason people will continue to doubt him is because they didn't get in early. This is kind of like when your buddy says, hey, this stock is going to go up. You should put money on it. And it splits and it you would have quadrupled your money and now you don't get in anymore. Or like in some sort of, crypto verse. If you see something climb up, like people that saw, Bitcoin go from 20K to 40 were like, I missed it already. I'm not going to get in. Then it goes to 100 and they're like, damn it, I missed it again. Like this is what's going to happen with Travis Hunter. You're going to have people that are going to say, I could have got him in the 8th and 9th round. Now he's going in round 4. I missed it. I'm not going to draft him there. He's going to play like a top 12 to 14 overall player. Just get ready for it. All right, DJ, final thoughts. Then I'm going to go back to Travis. Then I'm going to get out of here.
No, that's all good. I was wondering what you might stand on the cup with BT and Travis. Of course, where Travis' current ADP is what, like 4, 5? And that's my last thought. But what do you think about that?
What do I think about, like, who's the better value at their cost of entry?
Well, cupping. So, in other words, right now, BTJ is going first round, right? Late first round.
Yeah.
Maybe a little higher. And where Travis's current ADP is at, which is what, 4, 5?
Yep. 4. Grandma League,
Okay.
I'd say 5. Yeah.
Okay. The idea of maybe cuffing BT and Travis.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all.
Think that's possible?
It is possible, but I don't hate it. But the thing you're going to find is you're going to have to take Hunter at the top of 4 if you have you're taking BT here, BTJ at the bottom of 1. And then let's say you take, I don't know, who do you want in the second round?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the board, and I guess that was my point because, again, this ADP, Hunter's ADP, is it worth maybe saying, you know what,
that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to construct for you. So give me who do you draft at 13 or 14 overall? You took BTJ. You took BTJ at round 1.
Right.
Tell me who you like, and we'll construct a team and see if you like it. The thing is, you're taking Hunt. If you do this, you have.
Yeah.
HN, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to take Hunter. Unfortunately, you have to take Hunter at the top of round 4 because you're not getting him at the bottom of 5. So if you're taking BT, you have to have a pick that's right around this territory, the bookend picks. So you unfortunately it's going to be very expensive. You could take Hall, for example. So you have BTJ, HN, Hall, and Hunter. I don't hate it. I don't think it's crazy. And let's say you don't want to wait till the end of 7 to get Mahomes. Let's say you get Mahomes here at the top of 6, and then at the bottom of 5, you get let's say you get Lucky and Harvey's there. This is a grandma league. So you got BTJ, HN, Hall, Hunter, Harvey, Mahomes. I love it. But I definitely would prefer to have like another Debo-esque player to help my receiving room feel strong. So that would be the hope. You could figure out.
With a draft like that, that might be a draft worth taking, like an Puka, since it looks like he may be getting playing time ahead of Godwin to start the year or something like that.
Yeah. So like Puka and Kelsey or something like that, if you could pull that off. So you get Kelsey and Mahomes, you get Puka, you get McMillan, Jalen McMillan later, and you'd have a pretty good team. So yeah, it looks fine. I mean, I've done it a lot. I'm just wanting to map it out for you with the players that you plan to pick. DJ, let me get these super chats, and then I'll let you give your final thought. Marcus says, got the 1 slot in the draft. Marcus, your team, let me go to the roster real quick and break it down. I think I showed your team, though, right, Marcus? Marcus, appreciate the super chat. Rockout says, Smitty, check the worst team from the draft. Let me check these rosters. And then TD dropped his super chat. Appreciate. Okay, I was like, is he trying to say predicted? No, appreciated. Okay, appreciated. Appreciated the T-Mac convo, Smitty. It was good discussion for sure. You know what? I just realized that you're TD. I thought the caller's name was T, and I didn't put it together that was TD. My bad. So I didn't even know that was TD. Thank you for the super chat, TD. It's good discussion for sure. Wanted to ask your thoughts on Darnell Mooney and the news of his role increase. Yeah, I mean, like Darnell Mooney a lot. He brings a lot of potential wide receiver 3-4. I wouldn't say 3 like a hard stop on 3, but a wide receiver 3-4 value. Very, very good wide receiver 3-4. Like you go heavy RB, heavy, you draft a quarterback, tight end, heavy RB, and then you come back for a very cheap wide receiver 3. Perfect. Puka and Mooney, perfect. Especially in best ball. So I like that. You're still here, TD. And Marcus, are you still here? And Rock Out, I'm sure, is still here for sure. Let me review Rock Out.
TD,
okay, TD, appreciate that super chat. Sorry, it took me a second to see it. Any other super chats I'll get to immediately. Just drop them. We're getting kind of close to super chat territory for the season. So who was... Oh, Marcus is Miles? Marcus is Miles, okay. I didn't know that either. It's hard to remember all that. Marcus, your team is Allen, Penix, Shadur, Milton. Love the quarterback room. Achan, Hall, Hendy. Fantastic running backs. MHJ, DK, Jerry Jeudy. Love it. Njoku. Yeah, bro. Definitely top 4 or 5 team in this draft. And then Rock Out at the bottom. Dak, such a tough spot for Superflex. Dak, Bryce Young, Milrow, Rattler, JT, Harvey, Scattaboo, Lamb, London, Jennings, Debo, Andrews, Pitts, and Zach Ertz. Yeah, very good. Quarterbacks kind of, are the part that might hold it back. Here's Steele's team. JJ Evans, nice job. Jonu. Dev, we got you here. Mayfield. Did I call him Sir Devios earlier or something like that? I think I was thinking from Game of Thrones. What's that guy's name? Sir Devious. Devious.
There was a guy. No, there was a guy that was a watcher. Sir Devious.
Yeah, but I called him. I think I called him Sir Devios or something like that earlier. Because I think there's somebody from Game of Thrones named Devious or Devios, but this is Devious. I don't know why I thought of that. Mayfield, Tua, Russell Wilson, Henry, Chase Brown, McLaurin, Devontae Smith. Good team. Those are good teams. Anything else, DJ, before I leave?
No, not at all. I just appreciate the show and the team. Thanks, Travis. And the whole squad. Good looking out. Good stuff. And later.
Later, bro.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, anything else? Where did I was trying to show the screen and it didn't work, but I got to reboot. I can't even do anything about that. Anything else, Travis?
Yeah, just on that Mooney thing, is that just him getting more work? Is that just like assumed because of the way the offense is going to be? They'll probably throw a little bit more with Penix.
Well, there's news on it that they're going to get him. I'll pull it up here. Let me get it. So this is what the news was on Mooney the other day, and he's definitely a good receiver. Like Mooney's a solid guy.
Yeah, because he had 106 targets and 64 catches. So, what are you thinking? Like 130 targets, maybe? Or?
Yeah, let me pull it up here. So the report was Falcons to lean on Darnell Mooney more this season, and the report reads as follows. It reads like Mooney had 81 catches, 1055. Falcons wide receivers coach Hilliard said this week that Mooney's reintroduced himself to the league a little bit last year and said that the Falcons are looking for him to do even more this time around. We look to Mooney as obviously a yards per catch guy, a vertical threat, a veteran presence. It's a good thing to keep in mind though that as we, when we talk about players like that literally order of questioning sometimes with a coach can lead to something that really makes people go down a rabbit hole that isn't there. Like I'm not saying that Mooney, this fits the bill with what I think of Mooney. So this is valid. But sometimes, you could walk up to John Gruden and say, what do you think about your third ranked running back? The guy's the best guy in the league. So Gruden was the worst at that. You'd be like, I'm confused. But in the case of most coaches, even if you just said, hey, what do you think of Tootin? Like if that fumble didn't happen, Cohen might say, exciting. Getting this guy the ball is going to be a priority. And he's going to say that. And then he's going to be like, what do you think about ETN? Like if you could just go back in time, if you asked him consecutive questions, he might start saying, I better not sound like a moron here. Let me try and, but if you were to go back in time and just hit rewind and he didn't say that and you say, what do you think about ETN? He'd be like, ETN's one of the most electric. Like he might say that about all three of the running backs. Bigsby's best yards per kick. Like you don't know what he's going to say. So it's hard to really, take coach speak right now. All it takes is one question to get them to say something that's going to be positive, and then everybody runs with it. But I do believe it to be true with Mooney. They're going to use him more, but you're always going to talk up your guys. He's going to be even better this year. Like, well, yeah, probably. Penix Jr.'s in there. Of course, he's going to be better. So,
like last year he was good, but he was. I mean, he had some really nice games, but he only had 64 catches. He had 992 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like, how much more would you expect than that? You see him like.
Well, with Penix,
can you expect many more touchdowns than 5 or 6?
I expect a lot more. By a lot more, I don't mean 1,500 yards, but I just mean because Penix Jr. wasn't in there. This is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't score a single passing touchdown for 4 straight games before they benched him. He finally threw one in the 5th game, but then then he's done. So he scored no passing touchdowns for 4 straight games, then scored 1, and then they benched him. So 5 games he had 1 touchdown. And so for me, I can't judge anybody in the pre-Penix Jr. time frame. And the fact that Bijan finished the year with 2 TDs rushing, 2 TDs rushing, and 2 TDs rushing, 6 touchdowns in 3 games, shows you how much Penix Jr. changes defensive scheming. It's like no stacked boxes anymore, spread out offense. I feel like it's going to be similar to like the Rams' greatest show on turf in a way, just that you have elite talent at every spot on the field, and so Marshall Faulk would just have these open lanes just ripping through.
I can't wait to see Bijan in a full year.
Mm-hmm.
And that offense was kind of, like we were saying, he still hasn't had a year where he's had over 5 yards per carry. He's obviously capable of that.
And not a lot of
the numbers he can put up.
And if I remember correctly, I believe Bijan is one of the worst top 10 running backs in long runs. Like he hasn't had a lot of, everything's very short, and that's not him. That's not his fault. That's just, Kirk Cousins gave him a short field, in terms of space to run. But what's going to happen is here's a defender, here's a defender, here's a defender, here's a defender, and Bijan is having to run through this gap. Well, everything, and not just, on the line of scrimmage, it could be just spacing out in the flat, or everything is going to be just a little bit easier to get through because you have literally Penix Jr. You almost have to, people are going to understand that he can run. I don't know why people think he can't run, just because they don't understand that he didn't run in college because he didn't want to get hurt, because he had already gotten hurt multiple times. So Penix Jr. is going to create a little bit of that. They're not going to spy him necessarily like you would a Kyler or a Lamar or a JD5, but he's going to be a threat with the ball. And if he's a threat to literally throw dimes all over the field. He's going to have Mooney stretching the field, as you just heard from the wide receiver coach, vertical threat. You're going to have London also stretching the field, but all over the place. Kyle Pitts, we'll see if they trade him or not. Bijan Robinson all over the place. This is going to be a spread out defense every single time. There's no longer going to be this Kirk Cousins ain't doing shit. Just stack everybody on the box. Hey, Bijan, we know Kirk can't throw, so hand the ball to Bijan. And Bijan's running into this brick wall every single time. Like Bijan's going to see these gaps and lanes that he's never, ever seen before. He might be confused. He might stop and go, which way do I go?
I just looked at it. In his 2 years, his longest runs were 38 and 37 yards.
Yeah.
He's never had a run over 40 yards.
Yep.
It's crazy.
He's one of the worst in the league, Bijan, in long runs inside the top 10, 15 running backs. And that's not him. That's not his fault. That is this right here. What you're looking at on my screen is what he faced every time he got the ball, because guess what? No one respected Kirk Cousins. So now you're going to have this defense spread out. You're going to have Mooney darting downfield. Mooney would dart downfield and Cousins wouldn't be able to get it to him, so it didn't do anything. Didn't spread out anything. Bijan's going to be looking at the lightest box count he's ever seen. Bijan with the lighter box count is going to be 5.5 yards a rip, 5.2, 5.3, 5. Even if it's just 5.0 a rip, and he's going to start having those 30 and 40-yard runs.
It's a great point, because rookie year he was handicapped by Arthur Smith, and last year he was handicapped by Kirk Cousins.
Yep. Bijan has been seeing this. This is his nightmares. He wakes up and he sees a pile of people. That's what it looked like. He just goes through that. Okay. All right. I'll try. Now Bijan's going to walk through this wide open gap.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Almost 1,900 yards total last year, even with it. So
I know, isn't that crazy? 1,900 yards and getting very low number of long plays. It's crazy. All right. TD says, fun fact, Kirk Cousins stayed in the pocket 98% of the time. I mean, he had a torn Achilles tendon that he was recovering from. So, yeah, the guy wasn't moving at all. But Penix Jr. is a running quarterback, not a Lamar or JD5 running quarterback, but he is a mobile quarterback that scored a pylon diving touchdown last year to show everybody that he can scramble, and he ran an impressive 40 time. What was his 40 time, Travis? Can you look that up? It was remarkably fast for a quarterback. Everybody's like, holy crap, Penix Jr. is a runner. Why didn't we know that? Because he had suffered 2 ACL tears. He had been injured for 4 years, and he played 2 years of football injury-free in his final 2 seasons to prove to people that he could withstand and hold up. Everyone's worried about him getting hurt, so he didn't run at all at the college level in his final 2 years because he didn't want to get injured.
So at his pro day, they had him as unofficial 4.46. And it's a 4.5 range. You can run in the 4.4s.
Yeah. Sick Nasty wants to know how I think he did in the voicemail draft. Who did you take? Let me see real quickly.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I think I have it right here. Sick Nasty. You took, wow, you had a lot of picks. Holy crap. RJ Harvey at 1.5, and that was my draft selection that you had. So I could have had RJ Harvey with that pick had I not traded it, but I forget what I traded it for, like Achan or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not even going to fret over that. You took Quinshawn Judkins at 1.8. You took Caleb Johnson at 1.9. You took Jaden Higgins at 2.2. You took Trey Harris at 2.3. You took Mason Taylor at 2.11. You've got the 3.07. You got and then it's over. And that's the final pick that you'll have, right? 3.7. Yeah, man. I mean, good job. Good job on that. I think you did good. My pick is I traded Joe Burrow. And again, in this league, I love my team in this league. I really, really like it. It's a one QB dynasty league. I had JD5 and Burrow, and it's a one QB league, so I can't use both these guys. And I have Achane, Kyron, Hall, and Hall's my flex. I had Debo. All right, you still do. Debo, Cooper Kupp, Jalen McMillan, Jay McMillan, like Goddard at tight end, but even if we just worry about the other positions. So I was struggling. Like a good team, JD5, 1 QB league, Achane, Kyron, Hall, Debo, Kupp, really struggling at this wide receiver 1 spot. If I could just turn Burrow into a wide receiver, and I tried over and over and over. I exhausted every resource. Travis and I were talking about how I could get one of his wide receivers. It just wasn't penciling out for him. I couldn't get it done. I even, as attacking teams, and Travis needs a quarterback, I was attacking teams that need a quarterback. I couldn't get anything done. So, and I'm going to do a video on this. When you kind of like in solitaire, when you have something and you're like, I can't do anything anymore, you got to go back to, the deck. And so I sent Burrow to Ron Navy, who had Lamar, and he had to wait. He dealt Lamar, and once he dealt Lamar, he needed a QB, and he really wanted Burrow. So I got Ron's first, and I got another first rounder. Ron's team's pretty bad. He knows that. So it's a good shot at a top 3 pick. It really is. But he's starting to improve and do different moves, so we'll see what happens. But so I took the 2 first rounders that I got for Burrow, and I trade. Oh, when he gave me Charbonnet too, so I got Sharbs, who I could use as trade bait if I want, or just keep him. And I took the 2 first rounders and got Travis Hunter. So now Hunter's on the roster. The first rounders are gone. Sharbs is remaining on the roster. And now I've got Travis Hunter, who I believe is my number 1 wide receiver without hesitation. So now the team's JD5, Achane, Kyron, Hall, Hunter, Debo, and probably Kupp for now. And I can take Sharbs and Kupp, or Sharbs and McMillan, or Sharbs and all my fab, kind of the process that I was talking about earlier, and try and get one more wide receiver upgrade if I can. So we'll see if I can pull that off. Sharbs is when you think about redraft, Sharbs is going where? Probably round. Let me see. I mean, and he's young, so his dynasty value is not much different. If anything, it could be more if people are expecting him to get traded. But right now, I'm trying to think of a wide receiver. I tried Pickens, and guess what? The guy that owns, and this is Kenny Powers, our moderator. The guy that owns Kenneth Walker owns Pickens, and I offered him Charbonnet, and I believe I offered him Charbonnet and all $500 of my fab for Pickens, and he said no. Kenny, are you out there? I think that was a good move. He's got Walker. He's got Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet's going at 115. It seems like he's dropping a little bit. It's good value. Do you guys think that's a fair offer for him with Pickens? Give him Charbonnet. He's got Walker. Give him all $500 of my fab for Pickens. Isn't that a good offer?
Yeah, I think it's a fair offer.
Yeah. I don't think it's crazy to say no either, but I thought that was a good move. I was kind of excited about cooking that up. I'm like, it might work, but I'm trying to get a receiver for Sharbs in the 500 fab. And so, like, looking at the wide receivers, maybe I could go after. No one's
get back on there.
No one's gonna give me. You have Davante Smith. What does the chat think of that? Davante Smith to me, Sharbs and $500 in fab to Travis. What does the chat think on that? And Travis, remind me on your receivers. You've got Puka, St. Brown.
I have Puka and St. Brown, and then after that, Tyreek Hill, Diggs.
Yeah, so he's got Hill, Puka, St. Brown, and Devontae Smith. Do you guys in the chat, would you trade for, and who are your running backs? Barkley?
My running backs are Saquon, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Rashad White.
And then your quarterbacks are?
Just Darnold and Love.
Darnold and Love, okay. Would you guys take Sharbs and 500 Fab to have 1,000 Fab and control the entire Fab market? Also have Charbonnet for Devontae Smith if you add Hill, Puka, St. Brown, Diggs. Let's see here. Travis, would you trade Gibbs for Hunter and Roger? That's not relevant right now, Roger. What? I'll answer your question though. Trade Gibbs for Hunter.
Roger asked that question last night, and we answered it for him. I think he was gone already though.
Yeah, Roger, we answered that one. I said it's it's arguable for sure. I don't know, man. Chase Brown and Hunter for Gibbs. I want you to get Hunter still, but I almost want you to keep Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? $500 Fab get you? Well, 500 Fab gets you the next Bucky, Puka, Kyren, Achan. That's kind of if you go watch my video, the trick to it, if you go after Fab, is let's say, okay, so in this league, you're getting $500 Fab, right? If Travis gets 500 from me, now Travis says $1,000 Fab. Everybody has 500 or everyone's gonna have 500 Fab because free agency hasn't started yet. So technically, someone could tie Travis, so he'd have to bid 501 to make sure if there's a Bucky Irving coming out of week 1, and there always is somebody in the first 3 or 4 weeks. Puka and Kyren the same year. Bucky, Achan, Kyren, Puka. There's always somebody. Travis will have $501 to bid on that, but then he'll have $499 left. So if he can somehow make another trade in just nonchalant fashion, say, hey, I'll do this, but plus $10 Fab or $2 Fab. If Travis can get even $2 in Fab, then Travis now has two $501 shots to get the next Puka, Bucky, Kyren, Achan. And so at the end of the day, so go watch this video. I talk about it. That's better than in some cases getting a first round pick. If you really, really break it down, if you land the player and you have 2 shots at landing it, you're getting a Kyren, a Puka, a Bucky, an Achan. There's always somebody. It's the most, I think, unthought of strategy to rebuild a dynasty known to man. I don't know why no one else even thinks of this stuff. Like this is a move that can rebuild your dynasty team. In hindsight, it could be, if you don't do it, you're leaving a top 5 player at the position potentially on the table, and you get 2 shots at it if you do it this.
It's a good point, because when you look at, every year is different. I get it, but if you get that Puka, that Kyren, whatever, right away they're like a top 5 or top 10 guy at their position. Whereas you go through the first round, how many guys in the first round are going to end up being a top 5 or top 10 player year 1 from week 2 or 3 on? Like, not all of them,
Yeah.
So it's even better than a lot of first round picks.
And if you take Puka, Achan, Kyren, Bucky, those are the most 4 recent, but every year there's at least one. You take that player and throw him in to the rookie draft. This year's a little bit special. Last year was pretty good, but you're going to put that player at like 2 or 3, probably almost 2, 3, or 4 guaranteed. So it's kind of like being handed Hunter or Harvey or Hendy or someone like that right now. But you have to land it. But that's why I say, rather than leave it to the 501 and then leaving yourself $499, just go get $2 so that you have 2 shots at it, 2 cracks at it. It might even be week 1. Puka and Kyren were both ready to be grabbed in week 1 for most drafts. If you would have got Kyren and Puka, can you imagine what that would have? So again, I mean, I'm not trying to influence Travis to do this deal on the spot here. I'm just saying that it is a powerful thing. If you're in rebuild mode, and you get and we also try and on this channel predict who that player is going to be so that you own the player and you don't have to go pick him up and everybody goes to search for him and they're like, oh my God, this guy, the Fantasy Football Show follower has already the next Puka or Kyron on their roster. JCM, Ja'Cory Koski-Merritt, Fannin Jr., Jalen Milroe, Marks, Woody Marks, maybe. Like it's gonna be somebody that probably is still on waivers because that's just how it goes. You know, we'll try our best to get the player nailed beforehand so you guys own the player, but I mean, it's gonna probably be a waiver wire player just because it always is. Little Bill, baby. We'll have a list, an extensive list. I do the pre-week 1 waiver wire show multiple times before week 1. So we'll have a pre-week 1 waiver wire show, and that will be like in August. And then I'll do another one at the end of August. I might even do another one right before week 1. So like literally at least three preemptive week 1 waiver wire shows. And that's what I'm trying to identify it.
The pre-waiver is awesome too, because if you're smart, you'll write some names down or screenshot it and be watching those guys and check up on them on Twitter or see what they're doing in practice or whatever. Because if you're ahead of the game, it's such an advantage.
All right, Travis. We'll see you later, bro. See you tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Later. Yeah, I like this team. I'm excited about this team. Achane, Kyron, Hall, Debo, Hunter, JD5. I miss Burrow. I do. I even contemplated trading JD5. And I was trying to do like a JD5 for Puka trade. And I would probably have flipped Puka and tried to get somebody else. Like BTJ or somebody. Just because of my concerns like I talked about at the top of the show. But I liked Puka. Puka was a nice target for this team, given I had no wide receiver 1, But there's a lot of opportunity to turn this team into something different. I just couldn't get it done. I couldn't fit a square peg in a round hole with Burrow. And so I turned Burrow into something and then turned that something into the wide receiver. So sometimes you got to go the long way around is kind of the point of why I brought this team up. Yeah, Travis almost pulled the trigger on the JD5 deal. Yeah, I offered him JD5 for Puka and to keep Burrow. And I think I offered him, I want to say I was going to give him more, but I forget what it was. But I'm glad in the end. I love Hunter. I'm so glad. I'll be honest with you. You guys are going to think actually, I'm not even going to say it. Not going to even say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to try and tell you how much I love Travis Hunter. I'll see you all tomorrow. I got to work on the Travis Hunter video, by the way, but at least for now, we have the Supernova video for him.
There are handfuls of Saturn, Mars, and Moon men, but only 8 can be supernovas. I give you the 8 best picks in fantasy football.
They are the 8 supernovas. They are the 8 supernovas. The hateful 8 supernovas. I'm looking at the 8 supernovas. The magnificent 8.
Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Additionally live whenever news breaks. Additionally live at midnight Eastern, like this exact live stream tonight, to draft. Underdog, promo code Smitty. And don't forget to get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com. That's my rankings, bold predictions, And don't forget to get on over to the Patreon, which is a live chat, 365, 24/7 live chat group, which I'm going to get into that live chat right now and ask how everybody's doing, any post-show comments or questions. So head over to the Patreon right now if you want to be a part of it. The link I just dropped right there. Appreciate you all. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, ProQuote. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you, Rhino. Thank you, Travis and Sick Nasty and Blackbeard and Space Ricky and Vampy and Kenny Powers and The Bolt. The Bolt, you out there? Awakened Up, appreciate you. Roger, again, thank you. TD, appreciate you. Thank you for the super chats from Marcus, TD, and Rock Out. DJ, see you later. I'm typing on the Patreon right now, and I'm writing, what is up? Any post-show graveyard show topics? Question mark. Boom. I'm sitting there waiting to talk with you. This is why the Patreon's so amazing. Go join, go sign up. I'm right there waiting to talk with people right now. Who wants to talk with me? Jump over there, Patreon. Link in the live chat. I'll drop it one more time. There it is. See you on the Patreon right now.